Welcome to another edition of the FGA Report. I'm your host once again, Brian Smith, and I am joined by Cayden Lee, one of the top receivers in the state of Georgia. What's going on, my friend? How you been?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. I met you a little less than a year ago when we were both freezing to death in South Carolina at that tournament at Myrtle Beach. That was brutal weather. And I was like, who's the kid with the big hair running around and catching passes over there? They said, that's Honeycomb. And I'm like, who? And they said, that's all we call him. I'm like, what's his name? I had to ask a couple of people to figure out your name, like literally. A couple of people did not know your name.
A lot of people don't. A lot of people just know me as Honeycomb.
I'm like, I'm just jealous of the hair. But nonetheless, it's interesting because you caught a lot of passes. Malachi Singleton, a kid you obviously know, and I know was playing for Cam. And there's a lot of opportunities with that organization, Cam Newton, to play with players. But you were a guy that was getting the ball a lot, and I'm like, okay, well, he's obviously good. Because all of these other guys are FBS level players. So for anybody out there that didn't know who you were, you deserve to have your name on the screen. It's not just Honeycomb. So
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. When did you start like realizing, hey, I'm a little bit different than the other kids here in the neighborhood. I know I'm a dude. Like, when did you realize you were going to be a recruit? Like, what age?
Well, I think it's really different than a lot of people. I realized it kind of later. I would say probably going into sophomore year, I really realized that maybe I could do something with this, and probably around sophomore year.
Okay. You've been with Cam since what year?
I've been with Cam probably since 8th grade. 8th grade, yes. I was on the first 15U team ever.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'd say if Cam brought you, you were a little better than you thought then at that point.
Yes, sir.
As the other point. Just off the top of my head, Georgia Tech have offered, Auburn, UCF is, pretty much most of the SEC at this point. Have you always lived in the greater Atlanta area?
I have. Well, I used to live in Marietta area and in Atlanta area. So I'm mostly from Georgia, so Atlanta.
So you're familiar with football down south and how important it is and everything. You've got a trainer with Terrence Edwards. You've been through the whole deal with understanding the route tree, how to break guys off, and how to set up the next play. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, not just because you're good, but some of the guys I have on, they just take the ball off somebody's head because they're like a basketball player in cleats. That's not your game. Your game is making guys look dumb in space, and I think it's fun to watch.
Yes,
so before you even get the ball, and you can make guys miss thereafter as well. I want to throw up some film here in just a second, but is there any particular play or quote unquote plays that you really like to run based, slant, go? What do you like to do?
I really don't have a favorite route like most receivers. I like to run it like everything. I like to run everything multiple different ways, and I feel like I'm able to do that because I've been working on my route so much.
When did you start training with Terrence?
Started training with Terrence going into 8th grade season.
Okay, so that's not many kids are going to do that in 8th grade.
I've been with Terrence for a while, so he's been getting me right.
I've heard good things about him, and he obviously played at Georgia. So I mean, you don't get to go play for the Bulldogs and just be a random football player. So that's a good sign. What has working with the trainer done for you in terms of not just speed work, footwork, but the mental aspect of the game?
Terrence has taught me a lot of stuff on and off the field. He's taught me how to compete and really just you have to work to get what you want. And then if you're consistent with it, then things will start to come.
I would agree with that 100%. All right, my friend, I'm going to throw up some film here on the screen. We're going to let these good people see how good you are. So I make myself look good by having you on the show.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. This is you going at it. Competition in Atlanta, for those of you who don't know, is a little bit different than most places. And I'm not sure why this is, but like Terrence trains Cayden and a bunch of guys, some NFL guys too. The amount of trainers that is accessible and your OD and just all these different guys that train, not just DB or receiver, I dare you and all these different things. Every game you go into, especially if you're playing 5 or 6 or 7A, There's somebody on the other side that's a Power 5 kid at almost every school. What's that like from a challenge standpoint as you killed these poor kids here on the film? What's
Well,
it
I
like?
wouldn't say kill. I like what I do, and I like being able to go up against some of the best people, and then I like to be able to compete every week, and I feel like it's making me better as a player.
Well, I would say that they respect you because in Atlanta, you see a lot of guys play bump and stuff. I'm not seeing that much here. That's because you can actually run routes and get off bump. Atlanta's got corners all the time. Terrell, I mean, obviously his brother played at Clemson, and he's the next one up. And you've had the pleasure of going up against my favorite corner, A.J. Harris, because you guys compete with some of the same trainers and whatnot. This area, though, try to explain to people why Atlanta is such good football besides what I just said. Like, what are some of the things that you notice?
Well, I feel like a lot of people here have a lot of good talent and like to compete as well. So I feel like people like to show their skills, and people have skills, and they want to win every rep that they take. So I feel like when people go out and then they just like to compete and win. So I feel like that's a big thing that's here in the South.
100%. But some of these plays, though, you are making some of these guys look dumb, and it is pretty funny. You're the stop and go thing. I hadn't seen you do that quite as much. You've added that to the repertoire. You're doing a pretty good job with the stutter step. That's usually something a running back does quite a bit, but that's pretty nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything particular that you personally believe, I mean, you're advanced for a high school kid. What do you need to work on the most between now and the time you step foot senior year on the field, senior year?
What I would really like to work on the most is probably getting my strength up and my size up, and probably getting a little bit faster. I mean, you always want to work on those things, but I feel like it could really take my game to the next level.
I would agree. What do you weigh right now, give or take?
Right now, I'm 178.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but 7 to 10 pounds changes a lot, especially in those 50-50 situations in the red zone or whatever. And it probably help you get off bump a little bit too. You guys obviously had a pretty good season, have some pretty good players, but you going to Under Armour next month, or are you going, or what are you doing?
As of right now, I'm not going, but I'm probably going to look to get into that.
Okay. It's the 27th, I believe. I'm guessing it's at Denmark High School again.
Okay.
But, I'm curious to see, because this is a loaded group. Your class is one of the best classes nationally I've seen in a while. Like, just in Florida, the receivers are ridiculous. You had Georgia. It's really crazy. So there might be some Florida kids come up. They don't have an Orlando Under Armour early this year like they usually do. So you might have some Florida kids come up that way. As far as this coming season, you're going to be kind of a marked guy. Do you like that, knowing that the other team has to game plan for you, like, double teams or rolling coverage and stuff like that?
Well, I feel like it's just another opportunity for some of my teammates to do better. I mean, because if two people are covering me, that leaves someone else open. And same for my other teammates. If two people are covering my other teammate, then that's going to leave me open. So I feel like it's better for the team.
That's true. That's very true. Did you get a chance to run many jet sweeps or anything like that, or did they throw everything to you?
We got to run a couple, but that wasn't the primary focus of our offense.
Looks like you guys had a pretty sophisticated scheme for high school. I mean, I'm not saying that's the New York Giants or something. How hard was it to pick up the scheme? Because last year was the first year for you at that high school.
Well, it took a little bit of time and just a lot of repetition, but staying after practice and then getting reps just made it a lot easier.
All right. Last section, recruiting for you has kind of gone bonkers in the last year. You went from a guy had some offers to guy had helicopters landing at your school, literally. The Kirby and Nick show is going around the South. I'm sure at some point Nick will be there too if he hasn't already. What's it like knowing that you can pretty much go wherever you want in college? I mean, there's a few exceptions, but what's it like? You could go to Georgia or you could go to Florida State or whatever, and it's no big deal.
Well, for me, it's just I've really been blessed, and I've been fortunate to be able to do the stuff that I do at the level that I've been able to compete at. And I'm really just blessed, and I'm thankful that these schools have been able to see me and see my talent.
Well, that's probably one of the reasons they offer, because a lot of kids take it for granted. And they act that way not only with me when I interview them, but with the guys that hand out the scholarships.
Yes,
and
sir.
then the scholarships go bye-bye. So good for you and good for the people around you for making sure that you don't act as some of these other people do. Recruiting wise, what do you got planned coming up, man? You got any visits or anything lined up? But you went to Penn State recently, or where'd you go?
I recently just visited South Carolina, and then this past weekend I visited Oklahoma and had great visits at both.
Okay, so I got you mixed up with somebody else, but you're going all different directions. South Carolina, fairly new coach. Oklahoma, brand new coach.
Yes, sir.
I'm guessing you knew him from the Clemson staff because I know they've at least reached out to you. Thoughts on the crazy man on the sidelines for Clemson now being a head coach? Is he still a crazy guy on the sidelines in his office, or is he a normal guy? Because I've never seen him any other way.
Well,
that's the way he always was.
Well, Coach Venables is a real genuine guy. I'm trusting that. I know for a fact that he's brought some really good guys into his staff. He doesn't want any knuckleheads, and he demands business. So I feel like that's really good for Oklahoma and the team.
He can coach, man. There's no doubt about it. He had some really complex schemes that he got kids to pick up, and it's one of the reasons that they had dudes at Clemson, but he was really good. South Carolina program that was in year one, they exceeded expectations. Most people didn't even think they'd go 500 last year. How's the staff down there in Columbia?
No, the staff is amazing. Coach Beamer, Coach Stepp, the head coach and receiver coach. I love Coach Stepp a lot. I got to see him on campus. And then I got to hang out with him outside of football. So I got to see him outside of the football. So that was amazing.
What other schools are trying to get you to visit? I know there's a bunch that you actually have an interest in maybe, going to see sometime this spring in some capacity.
Yeah, well, I would love to get to all schools, but some of the schools that I would love to get to is probably Notre Dame. I would like to take a visit to Notre Dame because the history there is really rich and very deep. So I feel like a visit to them would be awesome.
What's it like in state for you? Like Notre Dame recruits Atlanta hard now. It's like, ironically, they're home away from home. It's a Midwest school. What's the pressure like to go play for Kirby at UGA in Athens?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of pressure because everyone wants you to stay home, stay close to the family, and just go represent the home state. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. And if that's the case, then I'm going to go where I feel is best. Okay.
Did you have a favorite school growing up? Or no?
I didn't really have a favorite school growing up. I just had some schools that my family used to watch growing up. Probably the Alabama and the Georgia and then the Notre Dame, stuff like that.
Okay. So the eye on the big dog, pretty much.
Yes, sir.
No pun intended. But okay. Timeline for decision. Throw the school part out. Are you trying to be done before your senior year? Do you have any definitive plan at all?
So I would actually like to commit probably before this next senior season coming up, and I'd like to drop a top schools before the end of this school year is over.
Okay. Obviously, the visit count, I don't think you can't take officials until June, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we got a little ways. We're going into the dead period now that we're in February. Get ready to start. March, you can do a few things. But for you, you pretty much have narrowed it down now, I'm guessing, in your head at least. I mean, you have to announce it. Are you glad that recruiting is almost done, for lack of a better term? Because I'm sure it's gotten to the point it's hectic as your phone every 5 seconds.
Well, I've liked that it's maybe just slowed down just a little, but I've also enjoyed the process a lot because you only get one go around at this stuff. So you just got to be thankful and grateful for this because this is never going to happen again. So you just got to be grateful for the opportunity.
Okay. All right, man. Well, stay on with me here, but I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you very much, by the way, for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. I'll be up to see you pretty soon. But for everybody out there, please like and subscribe and hit that notification button. Cayden's one of the best players in Georgia, so going to try to bring on some other guys like him. Probably not as many as good as him, but nonetheless, everybody be good. Take care.